had not connected the dots yet. This was my first case, and I was not aware of the trap that was being set for me and Larry.
Right. And what were your impressions of Larry at the trial?
I liked him. He was a good guy in an unfortunate bad crowd. And you know, when you're trying a criminal case, you don't know too much about the defendant who's in front of you. You might hear a little bit about him or her in voir dire and in the opening, but not too much detail. You don't get that till sentencing phase. And so I didn't really know too much about him, but I remembered that he was on a bicycle. I don't think this was in the article, but Larry, as I remember, you were on a bicycle riding along and this car pulls up and says, you know, we're going to cruise, we're having fun. Why don't you ditch your bike and we're going to go rock and roll? Or, I mean, it was just kind of this sort of wild talk, like, come on in. I felt like you got kind of, I don't know, kind of cajoled into going in along. I think you were very reluctant. And then inside the car, I remembered that they were making fun of you and calling you Kunta Kinte. That wasn't in the article either, but there was the Hispanic that had the knife, Daniel Solis. I guess there were 3 white people, and then you, biracial. And they were, I think, calling, this is from 23 years ago, but I think they were kind of calling you a chicken. Like, let's go jack someone for their wallet, you know, Kunta Kinte, what about that? And I just felt like, I guess I was sympathetic. This is what I thought of you. I liked you, and I felt sorry for the situation you were placed in.
Dad, once you found him guilty, did you have any say in what his sentence would be?
Yes. 90 months.
Okay.
That was the say. So normally, if it's not a Measure 11, you order a PSI, a pre-sentence investigation. You find out all the facts about the person's life, any mitigating circumstances. And but in this case, since there was no reason to do that, you just go down and it's 90 months for that crime. I didn't have any discretion, but here's what came in. Here's what I should have been able to consider. Larry's 16 years old, scholar athlete at David Douglas High School, on the swim team, in the choir. He turned himself in on this crime. He was a minor actor. Just because his presence prevented escape, he really did, in my view, aid and abet in the commission of the crime. And that was, you know, they waived the jury, and that's why I was in the position of finding him guilty. And he was a really good guy in his neighborhood. As you mentioned, he helped neighbors, mowed their lawns, wouldn't take any money for it. And I could consider really none of those things. And I looked for wiggle room in the constitutional cases on cruel and unusual punishment, equal protection, due process, and I just came up with nothing. And to give him the same sentence as Solis, which it was totally unfair. I think in retrospect, although this wasn't raised by anyone at trial, it seems unconstitutional, a violation of his due process rights, totally unfair.
Larry, what do you remember about the sentencing?
Not much. You know, I remember, in fact, I think really the only thing that I remember was, I remember crying, you know, but I remember it wasn't because, you know, I had realized that they were giving me, you know, 90 months, and I was receiving 90 months. It was the fact that there were so many people in the courtroom from like my past, you know, and neighbors, teachers, coaches, you know, parents of friends of mine. It was overwhelming, just the support. And I felt I just felt overwhelmed with support, you know, and I felt like I'd let a lot of people down, you know. Um, Gary Bertoni, who was my lawyer, I mean, he explained to me the sentencing, you know, and so I kind of, you know, we already knew what to expect, so that wasn't, you know, a surprise. I also remember feeling this relief of like being out of this kind of, out of this, you know, out of, you know, general population for a portion of time. You know, it was like almost a break from, I don't know, it's kind of I don't know how to explain it. It's like, yeah, it was kind of a relief. There was just so much going on. I can't visually, you know, tell you, you know, what happened. You know, I can remember certain aspects of it, but,
Also,
yeah.
my dad gave a lot of details about the crime and that lead up. Was there anything you wanted to add or to that kind of narrative of how it all went down that night?
Yeah, we were, I wasn't, I wasn't on a bike. That I remember. Like you said, it's really kind of funny. Like you said, it was like 25 years ago or longer. And I don't believe I was on a bike. We were at a church function, um, and then we left early, you know, and we kind of, I think the worst thing that I had ever done with a group of guys, not these specific guys, because I didn't, you know, really, you know, hang around them. They were they were really my brother's friends. But we would, you know, egg houses or people, or I think the worst, I think, earlier on in the night, I think Daniel had like slashed a tire, you know.
Okay.
So, um, yeah.
Okay. Um, Dad, what you told me once in an interview that Larry's case made you not want to be a judge anymore. Well, you said almost not want to be a judge anymore, because I know you did love being on the bench. But what was it about his case in particular that made you say that?
Well, I thought it was totally unfair what I had to do to him. And I was worried that he wasn't going to come out of the prison system in good shape. So just before I went on the bench in 1993, I had this dream that I was a pilot of a jet sitting on the tarmac, and it had people standing under the wings, and I had the wheel, and the wing would start to go down, and I was worried that it was going to crush these people. And so I fought it back, and then it's going the other way, and it's going to crush those people. And then I brought it back, and I just woke up in a sweat just thinking about this dream. And I think what it was I was afraid that the power that you put on a robe, you're wearing, you know, the power of the state. And I was worried that I was going to hurt someone. And I really thought 90 months could crush Larry. And that was my biggest fear. And I don't really have the heart or the stomach for this. I was better running the stop court, you know, getting people off drugs, keeping them out of jail, making sure they didn't have a felony on their record if they could get clean within a year. And I was a good mediator. I like bringing people together, but I didn't enjoy some of the things I had to do that I thought were really unfair. And this was the worst case. I probably have resolved, I don't know, 3,500 cases to 4,000 cases over my 48 years as a trial lawyer, judge, mediator, arbitrator. This is the worst. Larry's case was the worst thing that I think that I ever experienced. So I didn't want to have to be a rubber stamp for injustice for the state of Oregon.
Right.
That is why I wanted to be a judge.
Larry, you mentioned earlier that when you were at McLaren, you were in something called an ownership group. Can you tell us about what that was and how it helped you?
Yeah. So ownership group. So after I was sentenced, and it took me, I think, 2 years before I had reached a hall, this Hall Cottage, which was a unit ran by treatment manager David Vansel, and I was very, I was angry, I was, confused, and I was, blaming the world, for my circumstances. Wouldn't nobody could tell me, it's the old, adage, it's hard to find a guilty man in jail, right? Everybody's innocent. And so when I reached Hall Cottage, it took me a while to kind of, reconcile the idea that, I was mad at, my lawyer, I was mad at, Judge Beckman. I was mad at, Dan Sleece. I was even mad at the victim, and John McLucky. And I was, kind of these, I don't know, how you would even label that, but I was angry, and I was blaming everybody but myself, And so, through the process of ownership, I was able to realize that, it was, I didn't just all of a sudden poof and appear in Judge Beckman's courtroom, that just didn't happen. And I think through ownership, what ownership does is it teaches you how to identify thinking errors that are like in your behavior, like kind of cycles everyone has when they, when they enter like a stage of conflict or a crossroads, right? You can either look at the situation for what it is, or you can tell yourself, you can blame somebody else you can minimize the situation. Or thinking errors are like minimizing, justifying, shifting the focus, things like that. And it's just a process of being able to identify those when they creep up, and to say, okay, what's the real, what's the truth in this situation? Is it everybody else in my life, or is it me? Am I making these challenges, or am I causing these challenges that are happening in my life? Right. And it's just a process of being able to identify those so you don't have to repeat the same patterns. And so it gives you, so what I was able to do is go through years of that process, and to take ownership for everything, and it's freeing, it was absolutely freeing, and it made me, everybody, all the guys I was there with, it made us better men, because we were able to, instead of make excuses, it serves me in every part of my life. I can look at a situation, for what it is, and then if I can do that, then I can make the corrections, and the tweaks that need to happen for me to get past that challenge, and
yeah, you've been really amazing and taught me a lot about not being a victim and bouncing back. And but I am curious, what have been the hardest parts of having a felony on your record?
I mean, in the past, it's, what it really is like, when I said it's almost like a death sentence, it almost is. I'm ambitious, and I'm driven, and I'm competitive. That's just my nature. And for somebody, for anybody really, I don't think it's unique to me. People, it limits you in ways that it's the gift that keeps on giving. It doesn't matter, what my accomplishments are, what stage of life I'm in. It's always like, at this point in my life, the biggest thing, I'd like to, coach my my son's, soccer team or basketball team, or I'd like to volunteer at his school, and I can't do that. I can't be an active participant in my own community because of something that happened when I was 16. And there's so many guys with my same story. We're not, I talked to guys that I was at McLaren with, and the things that we're talking about, how to, limiting our, how much TV time to limit our children. And we're talking about Vanguard accounts, and we're talking about entrepreneurship, and the fact that we aren't able to operate at our full capacity, I think is a true, I think it's a, it's a loss to the communities around us, to be completely honest, and I think, just the fact that I had, you talked about it in your article, the fact that if I want to pivot out of the industry that I'm in, that I almost have to start completely over and build new rapport. And because of those questions, because people don't know me, and aren't automatically going to trust me,
Right. So the only way for you to get a felony off your record would be a pardon from Governor Brown. So can you tell me if you have decided to seek a pardon and what the status of that is?
Yeah, I have. I'm actually working with Eliza Kaplan at the Criminal Justice Reform Clinic, and some students of hers, and they are helping me put together a packet for clemency. So I think, yeah, so we just started that process a few weeks ago, actually. And I've spoken with Eliza on the phone, and then I just video or a Zoom call with her and a couple of her students, and they're wonderful, and they're letting me know what to expect. And yeah.
Great. So just to wrap up, this is actually only the second time that you and my dad have seen each other in 20 something years, and your histories are very intertwined. So I just wanted to give you both the opportunity to wrap up by saying something to each other if you have anything to say. Otherwise, we can end it.
Yeah,
Dad?
I will.
Oh, Larry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I don't have anything to say. You go ahead.
Oh, okay. I know that, I told, I was talking to Rachel, and I asked her to pass on a message to you. I just kind of feel like I'd like to say it myself, in that that I completely understand that your hands were tied, that day. And I think that, this process has given me a lot of healing, and it's given me it's given me a lot of it's let me move on in a lot of ways. And I think that, from what I understand, that it affects you, you're affected by what happened those days, just like I was, and I feel that I don't feel like you should feel that way at all. And I thought I would do a lot better at at expressing my feelings other than this, but
great.
I think that that it's time that we both move on, and kind of let those, I don't hold anything, against you. Like I said, you didn't put me in front of you, I wasn't there. I was there because of my own actions. And, you had to do what you had to do. And I think that it speaks to your character that it did affect you. and I am actually grateful for that, because it makes me feel I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I just don't think that I would be heartbroken if I thought that it continued to affect you in a negative way.
Dad?
Well, Larry, first I want to say thank you for letting Rachel bring this story into the public. I mean, it takes so much courage to do what you've just done.
Mhm.
So,
For you as well.
yeah, very emotional. I know you didn't sleep well last night, and I've been pacing around all morning. Judges aren't used to talking about their cases, and we can talk about them if it's to help with the administration of justice. And I'm retired, so I think it's okay that I've been talking about my feelings and what I thought about the law, which I think should be repealed, and we need to start over instead of just chipping away at Measure 11. But anyway, I'm glad that you did find a life, that you're raising your boys, and I hope you take that paperwork out of your attic and submit it, and that you get a pardon. I think this case really calls out for clemency. Actually, every judge that I've talked to, and there's only been a couple about your case, asked me, why didn't I find you not guilty? And that's one of the things. I know the subject here is difficult decisions. And when you when the jury is waived, I know that judges that are sitting in the audience will feel like I felt. I could have said not guilty. I could have somehow justified, well, did he really have intent? I mean, they got out of the car and said, let's jack this guy for his wallet. I mean, that's like saying what your intent is. And I just struggled with that. Not really, I mean, in retrospect, I wish I'd found you not guilty. Let me just say that, but I think it would have been dishonest. We're supposed to uphold the rule of law. That's why we have judges, but we need to put the judges back in the sentencing, into the discretion. I mean, otherwise, why are we there? I mean, what was I there for? Just to sign my name. So thank you, Larry. That's what I wanted to say. And Anne, I want to thank you for having us tell Larry's story. And I appreciate being part of this program. And Rachel, good job of reporting. I mean, you tracked Larry down in South Carolina, and you tracked down people, all the people that you mentioned in your story, you tracked down and talked to personally. And you did a great job of journalism, and I'm proud of you.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Judge Beckman, Dad, and Larry, for being courageous in sharing your stories with me over the last few months. And again today, this is just not easy stuff. And I think that what you both are doing in bringing this to light, I just think that it is a step in the right direction in terms of justice and healing and all of those things. So thank you so, so, so much.
Thank you to the Queen's Bench as well. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being vulnerable with us and sharing your story. I know that this had to be so hard, and we just really appreciate it so much. We have a couple questions, if that's okay, from the audience. The first question is, we've got 130 people in the Zoom room right now, all judges and lawyers. What can we do to support your clemency petition?
I think you can probably reach out to Eliza Kaplan at the Criminal Justice Reform Clinic. I'm going to give out her email. I think that's all right with her. But it's akaplan@lclark.edu. Oh, there we go. We have somebody that just shared it. They're awesome. Amanda. And I think, I mean, this is obviously new to me. I don't really, understand the process yet. And so I think that she'd probably be able to, she'd have better answers than I do.
Thank you. I
Thank
hope
you.
folks will reach out. The next question that we have, and I don't know who would be the appropriate person to answer this or speak to this issue, but why was the jury trial waived in this case?
I can talk about that. I think Judge Harl Haas had Daniel Solis's case, and it was to a jury. He was found guilty, and I think Gary Bertoni just felt like I had already demonstrated that I was not the good old boy state's judge, actually kind of progressive, and maybe I would be a good fit. Pretty liberal. I mean, I'm retired now. I can just say I'm extremely liberal. So I was, that's why they waived the jury. Just think,
Yeah.
I think for difficult cases though, that are close, or like sex cases, like he said, she said, those cases, I've talked to other judges, they don't let the people waive the jury. Like it's a mistake, and it really, I think, is better if the jury decides rather than a single judge in a really difficult case. I wish there had been a jury in my case.
Yeah, I can support that. Yeah, when I met with him, or I was like 17, or I was 16 or 17 when he said, Gary Bertoni, he was like, he's kind of telling me about Measure 11, and he goes, if we waive the jury and we'll just say, you're found guilty, then, I doubt Judge Beckman would, sentence you to this time. So at 17 years old, I was like, I didn't really have, any experience with it, so it was just, I mean, it was really a coin flip, I think.
So another conversation from our audience members, Judge Beckman mentioned several other people in the car that he recalls were white. Were they charged as well?
No. Oh, this is for
Larry, they didn't get out of the car, did they?
no.
Okay.
Okay. We have another question from Judge Amy Holmes Hinn. Do you feel that the opportunity to participate in a restorative dialogue with the victim in your case would have been beneficial?
At what point? I think this has been beneficial, talking to Larry, but
Was that a question for Larry about if it would have been beneficial for Larry to have a conversation with the victim?
Yeah, I believe that that's what the judge was asking. I just read her question verbatim.
Okay.
Larry, did you ever talk to were you ever in touch with the victim while you were at McLaren?
No, so I wrote him some letters, that weren't mailed from McLaren for obvious reasons. I've talked to Dave Ansel about that over the past, over the years, and I mean, I think the last conversation we had about it was a couple years ago when I was thinking about. We were, you always try and respect, their experience. And although it was something that I really wanted to do, I just wasn't sure on how he would react to it, and so it was just kind of one of those things that that just never happened. I definitely think there would have been some benefit. It's definitely something that I really wanted to happen, just so that I can, listen to him, connect with him, learn what his experience was, it's part of that, putting yourself empathy, building empathy.
Well, thank you all for coming today. Vulnerability is the most expensive gift that anyone can give. And we really appreciate that you have given us this gift today. Thank you all. Thank you everyone for coming. I hope that you will stay on for our breakout room. Cassandra has circulated a link so that we can continue our conversation, both about what this conversation today has meant to us and what action items we intend to take into the future in 2021 to change things for the better. So please join us in the breakout rooms. Regardless, if you can't come, I hope that you're leaving today inspired and heartbroken in equal measure. And I want to invite you to take what you're feeling in this moment and make an action point for yourself to carry into 2021, whether that's pro bono service or some other form of volunteerism and community building. So please take a moment today and go to futureme.org and write a letter for yourself for 6 months from now as a mid-year check-in with yourself, written from the standpoint of having already done the work that you have decided to do today. Futureme.org will automatically email your letter to yourself in 6 months' time. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Oh, and I got to announce the winners of the Best Dressed contest, which is first place goes to Bonnie Richardson by a landslide. We have a tie for second place, Judge Allen and Judge Herans. And we have a tie for third place, Heather Weigler and Judge Flanagan. We will circle back with you about your prizes. Thank you again, everyone.